both in the Kiddush and in the davening on Shavuos, we mentioned that the Yontav of Shavuos is Matan Torah Seinu. We are celebrating Kabbalah Satorah. The Mishnah says in the end of Maseches Tainus that one of the two jolliest days of the year in the days of the Tanoim was Yom Kippur. And the Gemara says, why? Because the Torah was given, the Luchas Shniyos were given on Yom Kippur. So the Achrayim raised the question, why do we need two Yomim Tovim to celebrate Kabbalah Satorah, both Shavuos and Yom HaKippurim? So both the Beis HaLevi in his Chuvas, at the end of the second chelik, he has a whole series of drushes, as well as Reb Shlomo Vilna in his Sefer, Binyan Shlomo. They both give the same explanation, that Shavuos is a celebration of Kabbalah's Torah Shebichsav, and Yom Kippur is a celebration of Kabbalah's Torah Shebal Peh. How do they come to that conclusion? So the Beis HaLevi explains at length. The Gemara in Gittin on Daf Samach and Beis has a machlokes between Reb Yechanan and Reb Elazar, based on a pasuk in Hosea and Treyosar. We have Torah Shebichsav and Torah Shebal Peh. Which is the majority? Is the Roiv Torah Bichsav, or is the Roiv Torah Bal Peh? We'll get to speak about a little bit more about that. So they both quote the same pasuk, Echtov L'Rubei Torasi Halo K'Mozar Nechshavu. So the Tosfos on that daf and Gittin daf Samach and Beis, as well as Tosfos quotes a Medrash. So the Beis HaLevi elaborates upon it. What the pasuk means is the following: the original plan was that Kol HaTorah Kula would appear on the Luchas, and the Gemara sounds like the word Nevuv Luchas. The word Nevuv appeared on the Luchas. So Tosfos says, but the word Nevuv doesn't appear on the Luchas. So the Beis HaLevi explains, based on Midrashim and based on passages in the Zohar, that there's a difference between the Luchas Rishonos and the Luchas Shniyos. The original plan was that everything would be, there would only be Torah Shebichsav. Everything would appear on the Luchas, and whenever one would have a suffix in halacha, they would look on the Luchas, they would find the answer. After the Chet HaEgel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu declared that he's going to punish Bnei Yisrael, and they will be under the shlita of other nations, of the Kochavim and Mazalas. Once the Jewish people would be under the shlita of other nations, so they'll be able to take the Torah and claim that they are the Am HaNivcha, they have the Torah. That's exactly what the Catholics did for many, many centuries. They said that because the Jews rejected Osahuish, we lost our status as the Am HaNivcha, and they're the Am HaNivcha, and they have the whole Torah. So the Ribono Shel Olam, after the Chet HaEgel, said he's going to give the Luchas again, but this time it's only going to be Aseres HaDibros. And the rest, and there's going to be a lot Torah Shebal Peh. There's going to be a lot of Torah Shebal Peh. And the Torah Shebal Peh will only be for the Jewish people. So the Ummah Sa'olam will not be able to claim with the Shlita that they have over the Jews and over the Torah Shebichsav. They won't be able to claim that they are the Am HaNivcha because they don't really have the Torah Shebal Peh. So that's how the Medrash interprets the pasuk. Echtov L'Rubei Torasi, if I'll write down the whole Torah will be Torah Shebichsav, or the Roiv of the Torah will be Torah Shebichsav, and Torah Shebal Peh will only be the Miut, Halo K'Mozar Nechshavu. Then the Jewish people will be pushed out, will be like strangers. We won't be able to claim that we are the Am HaNivcha. The Ummah Sa'olam have everything, and they'll claim that they're the Am HaNivcha. So that's why we need two Yomim Tovim. So the Luchas Shniyos were brought down on Yom Kippur, with the Luchas Shniyos only having Aseres HaDibros, and the rest of the Torah was going to be written in the Chumash, and a lot was going to be Torah Shebal Peh. So Yom Kippur is the Yontif when we celebrate the fact that the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us the Torah Shebal Peh. That is the uniqueness of the Jewish people. And that's how the Gemara says in Gittin on Adaf. Ksav l'chas hadvarim ha'ele, ki al pi hadvarim ha'ele. Ksav l'chas hadvarim ha'ele refers to Torah Shebichsav. Ki al pi hadvarim ha'ele is referring to Torah Shebal Peh. And the pasuk says, "Ki al pi hadvarim ha'ele karati itcha bris v'es Yisrael," that the Yikar increases bris, singling out the Jewish people as a unique nation, as the Am HaNivcha, was really on the Torah Shebal Peh. Al pi hadvarim ha'ele, based on the Torah Shebal Peh, karati itcha bris. The bris singling out the Jewish people As the Am HaNivchar, the uniqueness is based on the Torah Shebaal Peh. What exactly constitutes Torah Shebaal Peh? So the Rambam, in his introduction to the Pirush HaMishnayos that's printed in the end of Maseches Brachas and all the regular Gemaras, writes at length that there are 5 sections to the Torah Shebaal Peh. He says, first of all, they have halachas l'Moshe Missinai. Halacha Moshe Missinai means a din that there's no way to read it in between the lines of the pasuk. Klal pratik klal, dabshoyim b'chlal, yatzman klal. No way to figure it out. Tefillin have to be square. Tefillin have to be black. That's halacha l'Moshe Missinai. Then you have pirushim hamakubalim l'Moshe Missinai. You have certain traditions, there's certain expressions, there's certain words have certain connotations. So, for example, kiisha kushis lokach. So the Targum Onkelos interprets Kiisha Kushas Lokach Girsha, that he divorced her. It doesn't say in the pasuk. Or Pri Eitz Hadar. Pri Eitz Hadar can be any interesting, any good tasting fruit. So it doesn't mean that. It means Dafke an Esrog. Or Ayin Tachasai means Mammon and so on. So we have, that's another section. Then you have all the dinim that are based on the Midrash HaTorah and the Dreshus Pem, the way you read in between the lines to fill out all the details of the halachas. Halacha l'Moshe Missinai, there aren't so many, the Rambam writes. Halacha l'Moshe Missinai means a din that there was no way to figure it out by reading in between the lines. So these are 3 sections of the Torah Shebaal Peh. And the Rambam has another 2 sections, all the Gzeres de Rabbanan and all of the mitzvahs from the Rabbanan, that you have to read Mikra Megillah and you have to light Neres Chanukah, that's Takanas Rabbanan, and then all the Gzeres de Rabbanan, that you're not allowed to eat the chicken and milk, and you're not allowed to carry in a carmelus, you're not allowed to write with your left hand, even though in the Torah it's only us to write with your right hand. The simple reading of the Rambam and the Hakdama to the Pirush HaMishnayos implies that all 5 are a chelik of the Torah Shebaal Peh min HaTorah. The Gzeres de Rabbanan and the mitzvahs from the Rabbanan, the obligation to observe them, the Chayvus HaGavra, is only with the Rabbanan, but a Chepta Shel Torah, it is min HaTorah. This is the terminology that Rab Soloveitchik used. When Rab Soloveitchik spent many years giving shir for the Balabatam on Gemara Brachas. So apparently some quote in the name of Rab Elva Soloveitchik, the one who learns Brachas is really Bittul Torah min HaTorah. It's only Talmud Torah mit the Rabbanim. So Rab Soloveitchik said after learning Brachas for over 10 years with the Balabatim, one may raise such an objection, that he was Isaac in Bittul Torah all these years. It was only Talmud Torah with the Rabbanan. Maybe it would have been wiser if he would have given shir on Zvachim and Menachas, which is sort of 95% dinim deraisa and 5% dinim derabbanan. So it would have been more Talmud Torah on the level of deraisa. So he said he doesn't think that that's correct. He thinks that although the Chayvus HaGavra to observe all the dinim derabbanan is only with the Rabbanan, that's why he says Safik derabbanan lakula. But nonetheless, a Chepta Shel Torah, it is on the level of deraisa. The Ramah in Shulchan Aruch has a din from the Rishonim based on the Gemara in the Dorm. The Gemara in the Dorm says you're not allowed to charge for teaching Torah unless it's Schar Batola. You're not allowed to charge for teaching Torah. But the Gemara says that if you hold that the need for trup is only with the Rabbanan, so the Malamdim who taught the young children Tanakh with the trup have a right to charge Schar Pisuk Taimim, have a right to charge for teaching the trup. So the Ramah quotes from some Rishonim who say, if a person gives a shir on Dinim D'Rabbanan, gives a shir on Hilchas Chanukah, or gives a shir on Hilchas Purim, if you're teaching Dinim D'Rabbanan, so that's not considered teaching Torah on the level of the Raisa. For that, you are allowed to charge. So Rab Soloveitchik thought that is very difficult, that the Chayvus HaGavra is only with the Rabbanan. But if you're teaching Torah, it constitutes a Chefsa Shel Torah on the level of the Raisa and should be included in the Din, Ma'aneh Bechinam, Afata Bechinam, that you're not allowed to charge money for teaching Torah. The Gemara has a major machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva regarding the text of the Chumash. We believe the text was dictated to Moshe Rabbeinu word for word and letter for letter. That's why the Gemara will sometimes learn that dinim from the fact that a word is spelled molei or chaser. Let's say, for example, it says by paraduma, if a person is a Tomei Meis, so he has to have Hazor Shlishi Shvi from paraduma water, and only then he's able to go to the mikveh to become Tohar. So the Pasuk uses the expression, the Hiza HaTohar al HaTomei. So in Bayesheni, the Chachamim had a lot of trouble from the Tzdukim who didn't accept, they didn't follow the traditions of the Torah Shebaal Peh. So sometimes they didn't follow the Hakil and sometimes Lahachmer. So they were of the opinion that he's a Tohar ala Tameh, that a person who himself was Tameh, went to mikveh, now he's a Tvul Yom, he may not be Mazeh Par Aduma water on a Tameh, because he's a Tohar, you have to be fully Tohar. If you're a Tvul Yom, he's still a little Tameh. A Tvul Yom is not allowed to eat Truma and not allowed to eat Kachim. So the Chacham said it's not true. The tradition of the Torah Shebaal Peh was, he's a Tohar, Tohar Kol Dehu. Where did the Tanaim see that it's Tohar Kol Dehu? So some Mefarshim say, because the word Tohar is spelled Chosavav, Tes Hey Reish. Same thing we just read the other week. We read Parshas 2 weeks ago. We read Parshas Kedoshim. So the opening pasuk, Kedoshim Ti Kikodesh Ani Hashem Elokechem. So the Tanaim say in the Sifra, Yachal Kamoni, I'm instructing Bnei Yisrael they should be Kodesh because they were created with Tzelem Elokim. Kodesh Ani, they have to fulfill Alachta B'Drachav. They have to go in my ways to preserve the Tzelem Elokim that they had. So one might mistakenly think that they have to be holy like me. Where did the Chazal, where did the Tanaim see in the pasuk just the reverse? It says Kedoshim Tiyu Kikodesh Ani. That means we should be on the same level of Kedushim. So several of the Svarim write because Kedoshim Tiyu is written Chosavav, Kikodesh Ani is written Molivav. So they saw between the difference between Moli and Choser that Kedushasi L'mayla Mikdushas. The Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a full Kedusha, as opposed to the Kedusha that we can possibly attain will be an incomplete Kedusha. Reb Shimon Shkop, in the Hagdamah to his Sefer Shari Yosher, gives an explanation what were the Tanaim talking about. In what sense should we have Kedushasi L'mayla Mikdushas? What is it all about? You have the Gemara in Ksubis, it talks about the fact that the word Na'ara appears in Tanakh so many times. Ruba de Ruba, it's spelled Nun Ayin Resh. And once in a long while, it's spelled Nun Ayin Resh Hey. So the Gemara gives an explanation why. Na'ara, spelled Nun Ayin Resh, is an incomplete Na'ara. So whenever it says Nun Ayin Resh, sometimes it includes also Aktana. Oinus Mefata, by Aktana, there's also a din of Oinus Mefata. But whenever it says Na'ara, Nun Ayin Resh Hey, that's a Naira Shalem, a full Naira. So Ktana will not be included in the din. And many, many other halachas that are based on the fact that the word, here the word is spelled Mala, here the word is spelled Chasa. Just have to open up your eyes and pay attention. The Minchas Chinuch talks about this. Minchas Chinuch raises an issue. The Gemara says that we are not bikim b'chaseres v'yiseres. The Gemara in Kiddushin says we are not baki b'chaseres v'yiseres. So our Sefer Torah should be possible then. So the Minchas Chinuch assumes whenever you have a misspelling, according to the Masorah, if you're going to spell, let's say, Noach with 7 mistakes, in Yiddish there's such an expression. The fellow spells the name Noach with 7 mistakes. So if a person spells with mistakes, he has a final nun and he has a chaf at the end instead of a regular nun and a ches. That's a misspelling. So if it's a misspelling, the Sefer Torah is possible. But let's say he spelled the word tahor, should have been with a vav, he spelled it without a vav. It's supposed to be without a vav, he spelled it with a vav. So that's not really a mistake in spelling based on a dictionary. That doesn't correspond to the spelling according to the Masorah. So the Minchas Chinuch wants to say a chiddush that wouldn't pass a Sefer Torah. And this is how he answers the question. Half of the Sefer Torah have the word spelled Petzua Daka, Dalet Chaf Hey. Half have spelled Dalet Chaf Aleph. So half of the Sefer Torah in the world apostle, we don't know what the correct spelling is supposed to be. So he answers, he thinks that either way is a correct spelling. One is Hebrew, one is Aramaic. And Hebrew is Dalet Chaf Hey, and Aramaic Dalet Chaf Aleph. So either spelling is correct. One is supposed to be according to the Masorah. But even if it doesn't correspond to the Masorah, as long as it's not an incorrect spelling, it's not a mistake, so then you can't pass the Sefer Torah. So he says, unless, let's say, it's supposed to be a Kriya Ksiv, and the Sefer wrote the Sefer Torah according to what the Kriya is, but he didn't write according to the Ksiv. So let's say instead of writing Yish Galena, he wrote Yish Kavena. No, we have a tradition, that's a Kriya Ksiv. It's supposed to be spelled the other way. So whenever there's a Kriya Ksiv, it passes b'diavad. So that's what later poskim who have accepted this klal of the Minchas Chinuch, if you should assume like that. So they raised the question, what's the story with the word na'ara? When it's spelled nun ayin resh, and you're laying it nun ayin resh hey, is that considered a kriya ksiv? The ksiv is really na'ar, and the kriya is na'ara. So the Minchas Chinuch said, whenever you have a kriya ksiv, that's ma'akeh b'di'evet. If it's spelled incorrectly, it'll be puzzle. Or should I say no? It's not a kriya ksiv. There are two correct ways. In biblical Hebrew, there are two correct ways to spell the word na'ara, either nun ayin resh or nun ayin resh hey. So the poskim have a suffix about that. But getting back again, we believe the Torah was dictated to Moshe Rabbeinu word for word and letter for letter. And that's why the Gemara will learn Adinim from the phrases, the phraseology in the Chumash. There's an extra phrase, there's a missing word, there's a missing phrase. Or there's a word that's spelled Molei Chaser. We have Medaik even from that. The Gemara has a fundamental machlekes Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu dictated the Chumash to Moshe Rabbeinu, word for word and letter for letter, did he dictated B'loshen B'nei Adam, Kol HaTorah Kula B'loshen B'nei Adam Nemra, Dibur Torah Kelishon B'nei Adam, or should we assume Lo Dibur Torah Kelishon B'nei Adam? What's the machlokes? We have many times in the Chumash, you have Keif HaLoshen, you have Lashonos Kfulim, Hanik Tanik Nasan Titem, Mos Yumos, Pesach Tiftach. So that's the way people talk. When people talk, they throw in extra words really unnecessarily. So should we assume the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu dictated the Chumash to Moshe Rabbeinu, word for word, is the way people speak, and sometimes there are extra words that don't really mean to bring out any special halacha. Or should we assume no? Lo Dibur Torah Kelishon B'nei Adam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu dictated the Chumash to Moshe Rabbeinu, word for word, letter for letter. Every word has meaning. So the accepted opinion is like Rabbi Akiva, Lo Dibur Torah Kelishon B'nei Adam, and that's why whenever you have Lashonos Kfulim, like Hanik Tanik Nasan Titem, Pesach Tiftach, the Gemara will always make a drasha. We assume that drasha is a drasha Gemara Deraisa. That's really what the kavanah of the pasuk is. The Gemara has an agadita that Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven, and the Rebbeinu Shalom finished writing the whole Sefer Torah. And Moshe Rabbeinu was about to take the Sefer Torah. We assume that that's not the way it really happened. Not that Rebbeinu Shalom wrote the Sefer Torah, he gave it to him. Rebbeinu Shalom engraved the luchas. That says in the Chumash, the Echtova haluchos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu engraved the first time and the second time. It was engraved both the first time and the second luchas, both engraved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It wasn't written by Moshe Rabbeinu. But the rest of the Torah wasn't written by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It was dictated word for word, letter for letter. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it. But the Gemara has such an agadita as if Moshe Rabbeinu is sitting in heaven, standing in heaven, and the Rebbeinu Shalom writes the whole Torah, and then Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, he's waiting to accept it. Rebbeinu Shalom says, no, I have to put in Tagim. So Moshe Rabbeinu asks, what do you need the Chachkalach for? It's good the way it is now without the Tagim. He says, no, there's going to be a Tana, is going to come by the name of Rabbi Akiva. He's going to darshan on all of these Tagim. The Gemara says, tilim shel halachas. Tons of halachas on all of these Tagim. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, what can he say already? Who is this person? Show me, what is it all about? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows him a video of Rabbi Akiva giving shir on the Tagim. So Moshe Rabbeinu was chol shadaitai. He thought that this is a falsification of the Torah. He never heard of any of these drushes until one issue. They asked Rabbi Akiva, where do you get that from? So he said, that's halacha l'Moshe Messina. So he realized Rabbi Akiva is not making up dinim. Everything is flowing from the Torah. Everything is the same Torah that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. But over the years, the Tanoim, the Chachamim developed drushes and drushes on top of drushes and so on. And this is all a development over the generation. The Torah Sheba'al Peh developed all of the dinim, and every generation they developed some more. So he was Nochadaita. So it's interesting. This part of Rabbi Akiva we don't accept. The Gemara doesn't have even one drasha on the Tagim of Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara says tilim shel halachas, bundles and bundles, tons and tons of halachas based on the Tagim. We don't even have one drasha on the Tagim. The Gemara has in the end of Maseches Nida, the very last 10 lines from the end, the Gemara says the topic of Yud Aleph Yom Shebei Nida LeNida is really a machlokes between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Loza ben Azariah. Rabbi Akiva holds that you can read it in the Psukim. It's based on the Psukim. You don't need a halacha l'Moshe Missinai. Rabbi Loza ben Azariah says, no, you need a halacha l'Moshe Missinai. And the Gemara there, Rashi on the Gemara points out that There's such a machlokes Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah as far as other halachas as well. Rabbi Akiva took a lot of dinim that were assumed to be halachas l'Moshe Sinai, and he showed the way you don't really need halach l'Moshe Sinai. You can read it in between the lines of the psukim of the Chumash. Just like he darshaned all the Tagim, he came up with so many dinim based on the Tagim which the other Tanoim didn't have drushes from the Tagim. It's interesting, the machlokes we started with, machlokes Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Elazar. Elazar was a Talmud of Rabbi Yechanan, whether the Rov Torah is Bichsav or the Rov Torah is Baal Peh. So the Be'er Sheva wrote a sefer on Horius. So he raises the question, how is it possible that Rov Torah is Bichsav? You look in any library, the Torah Shebichsav is only 24 Svarim, Chavdala, Kisvei HaKodesh. Torah Shebaal Peh is B'li Gvul, B'li Tachlis. There's so many Mishnayos and Toseftas and Bavli and Yerushalmi and so many Meforshim. Of course, Ruba de Ruba, overwhelming majority of the Torah is Torah Shebaal Peh. How can anybody think that the Rov Torah is Biksav? So the Be'er Sheva gives the following suggestion, and the Pri Megadim wrote what he calls a Psicha Kolelos Torah Chaim. It's not really a general introduction to Torah Chaim, it's really a general introduction to all of Torah Shebaal Peh. So he starts off with this. How is it possible to maintain an opinion? The Rov Torah is Bichsav. We know it cannot be. There are only 24 Svarim in the Torah Shebichsav. So he quotes this Be'er Sheva that the bulk of all of the halachas is not so much the halacha l'Moshe Sinai. There aren't so many. The Rambam in the Hakdama to the Pirush HaMishnah is printed at the end of Bracha. The Rambam says, I'll give you a full list of all of the halachas l'Moshe Sinai. There aren't so many. So the bulk of the halachas are learned out from the drushes where we use the Midrash HaTorah and the drushes. So that's what the Be'er Sheva says. You're using words that appear in the Chumash, phrases that appear, and you're reading in between the lines that this is what it means. So that's the main machlokes, Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Elazar. The drushes, where you're reading in between the lines, do you treat that like Torah Shebichsav, or do you treat it like Torah Shebaal Peh? What's the difference, halacha l'maisa, whether you treat it like Torah Shebichsav? It's a din deraisa anyway. It's not a din derabbanan. So the Pri Megadim goes ahead to quote many sources to show that there are differences, halacha l'maisa. So one difference, halacha l'maisa, is in Horius, in the opening parak in Horius, the Mishnah talks about the institution of Par Halam Davar Shel Tzibur, that if the Bez Nagadol had a unanimous vote that a certain issue that should normally have an Issachar, they decided certain Chelev, certain Chametz is mutter, and the Rov HaTzibur violated this Issachar is based on the mistaken psak of the Bez Nagadol. So you don't require of each and every individual person that they should bring a chatos. The Bez Nagadol brings a Par Halam Davar Shel Tzibur, and everybody gets a kapar. So the Gemara said that's only if they gave Shigigas Hayra. They made a mistake in psak. In psak, Hayra is only in the area of Torah Shebaal Peh. Torah Shebichsav, we use an expression, Zilkrei Beirav, ask a child in Cheder. Ask a child is not in Chumash. What does it say in the Chumash? So if the Bez Nagadol made a mistake in Torah Shebichsav, that's not called a Hayra. There's no din at Par Halam Davar Shel Tzibur. So that's one possibility. That might be difference halacha l'maisa, whether the dinim that are derived based on the Midrash HaTorah and the Drashas Peh are labeled as Torah Shebichsav, are labeled as Torah Shebaal Peh. That may be an afkamina, and you get the Par Halam Davar Shel Tzibur. But the Pri Megadim quotes more than that. He shows that dinim that are based on Torah Shebichsav are considered more chomer. Dinim deraisa is certainly more chomer than dinim derabbanan. But even dinim that are Torah Shebichsav are considered more chomer than dinim that are only known through Torah Shebaal Peh. So he quotes a fascinating Yerushalmi in Nazir, the Mishnayos in Nazir. A kohen gadol are not allowed to be metame l'meisim. Kohen gadol is more chomer than a kohen. He's not even allowed to be metame to the zayin kroivim. But both kohen and a kohen gadol and a Nazir, they're all permitted to be metame to a meis mitzvah. So what if there's a meis mitzvah and there's a kohen and a kohen gadol walking down the highway? And they have no cell phone and they can't call a Chever Kadisha. So one of the two of them has to be metapel and the meis mitzvah. You don't really need both, one or the other. So who should be metame? So the Mishnah says whoever's din is less chomer. The kohen gadol is more chomer than the kohen hedyot as far as to me. He's not even allowed to be metame to the zayin kroivim. So the So the din would be that the Kohen Hedyot should be Metame. So the Yerushalmi has a din that doesn't appear in the Mishnahs. What if two Nazirim are walking down the highway? One is a Nazir for 30 days and one is a Nazir Olam. Nazir Olam doesn't appear in Chumash. It's only known through Torah Shebaal Peh. So the Yerushalmi says, since the din of Nazir Olam is only known through Torah Shebaal Peh, it's less chomer than the din of Nazir Stam, which appears in Chumash. The Pri Megadim quotes other dinim also that seem to indicate like that whatever is Torah Shebichsav, the Gemara has every so often a comment. Nilsa Da'asya Midrasha Tarach V'Kasav L'Akra. A din that we really could have figured it out based on a drasha of the Torah Shebaal Peh, the Chumash went ahead and wrote it explicitly. Why did the Chumash write it? We could have figured it out based on the Torah Shebaal Peh. So that's the pshat. Once it's written explicitly in the Chumash, it became more chomer. Whatever is explicit in Torah Shebichsav is more chomer than those dinim that are only known through the Torah Shebaal Peh. It's interesting, I'll close with this. The Rambam starts off Hilchos Ishus by writing there are three ways to make Kiddushin, either kesef or shtar or bia. And he writes that shtar and bia are based on Torah Shebichsav, and kesef is only divrei sofrim, it's only known through Torah Shebaal Peh. So one might have thought that we should try to make a stronger Ishus. Whatever is Torah Shebichsav is stronger. So the Rambam writes, Kvar Noga Kol Yisrael the Kaddish B'Kesef. What do you mean Kvar Noga Kol Yisrael? So the Sfarim write, as opposed to the Karaites, the Rambam lived in Egypt. At the time there were a lot of Karaim, and he had every so often there's a line in the Rambam in the Mishnah Torah which is an attack against the Karaites. So this is also none of the different groups of Karaim. There are European, African, and Asian Karaim. Each group has different shtick. One of the things they all share in common is that none of them have Kiddushay Kesef. So that's what the Rambam says. Kvar Noga Kol Yisrael. The Orthodox Jews have a minhag to choose Dafke Kiddushay Kesef to demonstrate that we do subscribe to the Torah Shebaal Peh, unlike the Karaim. A good niyan to everybody. Have a wonderful Shavuos.